And now the circle is complete. Yes, with Revenge of the Sith, the prequel trilogy came to a close, and then we got the whole story of how Darth Vader came to be. And by all accounts, Revenge of the Sith is considered the best of the prequel trilogy. It still has its flaws, but overall, it's considered the best because it is, and primarily because it gets to the actual story that people wanted to see. Now, understandable. It had to be a trilogy. New Hope was renamed Episode 4. Originally it was just called Star Wars. Then all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, what do you mean Episode 4? Well, there's 3 other chapters. It was understandable that it would be broken up into 3 chapters for that very reason, but also to detail who Anakin was, where he came from, and how he gets to where he goes. And that's probably the biggest flaw of the whole thing. It's not exactly entirely credible. There's elements of it there that are certainly good, incredible. The whole deal, the death of his mother, and all of that sets him up. And of course, the manipulation of Palpatine and his frustrations. He's supposed to be far more powerful and talented than the other Jedi, and yet they keep holding him back and all that. And they're holding me back, but and obviously the attitude of the Jedi kind of look at him nervously, and they don't really trust him, and this creates the problem. I mean, this leads him to where he is, where he's isolated, and really his only friend was Obi-Wan, and eventually turns on him as well. Again, I would have thought that a love triangle plot where at one point Padme had feelings for Obi-Wan, she turns to Anakin, and Anakin never, his insecurities, obviously a very insecure man. He has all kind of problems. I suppose you could look at it and say, well, he never had a father, so he's a mama's boy. And he struggles with that. And he doesn't have the confidence in himself, and he's fearful of losing her, and would believe that he never really had her love. But of course, within the story, she did. You would have it where she did love him, but his own problems prevents him from seeing that in total. Here, she loved him from the get-go. I mean, maybe not at first, but still the age gap. But once he shows the interest and she's interested, and there you go, they're off to the races, and the romance is genuine. But his fears of losing her is connected mostly to the death of his mother, and of course Palpatine's manipulating this. He has these Force visions, and he sees her death, and in childbirth, of course, the pregnancy is essential to the plot. We know who we think it's sent as one baby, but we know it's 2, and all that. And nice little touches where she has the Leia donut hairstyle, and all that's there, and it's slow. Everything's coming together. It shows the development that's leading to the era we see in the original trilogy, and all of that. But so his motives is not a bad choice for getting him there. It's just it goes way overboard for when he does turn, and that's the biggest flaw. Now, of course, say, well, it's the power of the dark side. Once you choose it, it forever dominates your destiny and all that. And after that point, it's almost like he made one mistake and he's a serial killer. I mean, the hardest part, of course, is when he slaughters the children at the Jedi temple. Now, granted, we don't see it, thank goodness, but it's the darkest part of the film. And of course, seeing them in the earlier films, wow, boy, that's gonna happen, isn't it? But and that's the first problem. So you could say the dark side of the Force pushes him to what he becomes. Once he's desperate to find a way to save Padme, and then Palpatine to, Darth Plagueis. He used to know how to do that sort of thing. Even if she dies, you could bring her back, and all this kind of thing. Plus, by the way, I manipulated the midichlorians and caused your mother to give birth to you. That's pretty much, I assume, is what that's about. So then he's, and Palpatine knows this. He's been manipulating him all along. He manipulated the romance, and he's tossing things to him that triggers his interest. And he says, well, how do I learn that power? And he says, well, you can't learn it with the Jedi. Only the dark side. Anakin, only the dark side leads to a path that some feel is unnatural. And all that. So he's falling down into it. But the problems of him turning against the Jedi and getting angry with them, it's very slight. They say, well, we want you to spy on the Emperor. After the Emperor, he's not Emperor yet. After Palpatine told him, I want you on the council so that you can spy on them for me. Run a roundabout way. It's pretty much what it is. But he's that upset about it. It's just not enough. The attitudes there, certainly from Mace Windu, is that he never really accepted Anakin. There's a brief moment there. He says, well, you know what? Since you told me about Palpatine, when he reveals it to him, you restored my faith in you and all this. So it's attitudes in little moments, but I just don't think it was completely thought out to give it more, gravitas to his motives and his feeling rejected by the Jedi. I didn't think that was enough for him to be that pissed off about them, which is why I keep going back to with him and Obi-Wan. The idea that he would turn on Obi-Wan that much, that's hard to believe too. There's some attitudes there. Obviously, he's a teenager, and Obi-Wan's basically his father, and and he's hard-headed and all that sort of stuff. That's all understandable, but the idea that it would lead him to that much, again, you have to chalk it up to the Force, the dark side, dominated him and pushed him into things and feelings he had about anger and frustration with Obi-Wan, and it pushes it all away into pure hate. Okay, let's go with that, but it also has to be that, boy, he was so clouded with the dark side that he's kind of an idiot. At one point, he figures it out. Palpatine is the Sith Lord. Well, boy, when he starts telling you about secrets of the Sith and everything, that should have been your first clue, huh? And so he figures it out. He ignites his saber, and he's, really considering killing the man, because keep in mind what he has to have known right in that instant. Good Lord, this old bastard's been lying to me all this time. He's been doing all this horrible war we've been fighting for years, and all the destruction it caused. This means he's the reason all those Jedi got slaughtered and everything. And he's standing there, God damn it, you old, and then, but, oh yeah, Padme. I gotta say, Padme. You discovered this guy is a liar through and through. And who knows what power he has, you don't even know. You're looking into it at the time, and you just accept, well, I gotta say Padme, so I gotta do whatever he says. Man. It's, boy, see, that's why, like I go to the first point, you can say that the dark side turned him so fast when he decides to go that way because he's desperate for the power of life or what have you. But through Palpatine, it's just, you have to accept that he's kind of an idiot. He just falls for this hook, line, and sinker. As well, it's the power of Palpatine, because Palpatine was so powerful with the Dark Force that he was able to cloud even the rest of the Jedi, so they never could have, they couldn't sense who was the Dark Lord or Master, And but jeez, and of course, Anakin at the whole time, even at the end there, he said, I can overthrow him. I'm gonna make this right. I just need to save Padme, and then I'm gonna fix everything. No, Anakin, you killed a bunch of kids. You're not gonna fix that. Yeah. So that to me, that's the deepest flaw there. As far as the rest of it, well, you get the spectacular space battles at the opening, which is reminiscent of Return of the Jedi at the end, So this, of course, is kind of like the mirror of Return of the Jedi. You even have what looks like the throne room where they Obi-Wan and Anakin have to go rescue Palpatine from Count Dooku, and all these sort of things. So it's the idea of mirrors and echoes of things repeating for this generational story, where the father and the son have similar experiences, but the choices are different and it ends differently. And that's how you do that. You don't just flat out copy it like some other Star Wars movie I could mention. But the echoes and mirrors here and there, of course, that's part of storytelling. It's part of how you do foreshadowing and whatnot. And you got, spectacular battles, fights and stuff. And Obi-Wan, you got a lot of display of his abilities here when he's fighting General Grievous. Now, General Grievous was far more impressive in the little Clone Wars cartoon that they did in between the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So, but at the end he gets attacked by the Force, and so you have to say, oh, that's what it is. He's damaged, and that's why he's coughing and stuff. So okay, so he's not nearly as impressive when Obi-Wan single-handedly is able to take this guy on, when in the cartoon he wiped out quite a few Jedi and they were terrified of him. And it was this idea that introduced, boy, if someone came up with the technology of a droid or I guess he's a cyborg, who has the blinding speed with which to take on the Jedi, boy, that's really a force to be reckoned with. And you kind of wonder why it wasn't revisited in later. Maybe it will be, like in The Mandalorian or something like that. But that seems to be quite the weapon to go up against Jedi when you don't have force powers and that sort of thing. So there's Grievous, and it looks like, to me, he looks like he has the Sith eyes. I don't know. I mean, he didn't have any force powers. He was just really fast with his robotic limbs with the lightsaber. So you got a good confrontation there, and of course Obi-Wan wins, and there's little send-offs here where you're getting the last little remnants of the good old days of when Anakin was a hero and all that, in a little moment where he says goodbye to Obi-Wan and everything, and that's their last moment, and it's really sad and stuff when you realize what's coming, and then it all goes to hell, and then Palpatine pulls the Godfather moment where you got to wipe out all the other bosses with Order 66, and the clones were programmed to do it, and they immediately turn, because it was always planned in advance. And there you go, the Jedi are no more, and all we got is Obi-Wan and Yoda coming back in to try to set it right. I mean, it's suggested, and of course I didn't watch a lot of the cartoon series, but there were some Jedi who survived and had to remain hidden out there in the galaxy. But for the most part, what it was gone. And then of course the confrontation between Anakin and Obi-Wan, the most spectacular battle. I guess they'll be trying to do that in Rise of Skywalker, but whatever. But some of it got kind of ridiculous when they were swinging back and forth, and it's like, what are you doing? But everything was falling apart, and ultimately we see what happens. Anakin is so full of himself, he thinks he can leap over there and take out Obi-Wan, and no, Obi-Wan just cuts him down literally, and he barbecues in the fires of Mustafar. And so there we go. Oh, that's why he's in the suit. He's in that suit because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's a sad thing, Ewan McGregor, one of the bright spots of the whole series, along with Natalie Portman, and the emotion he's able to generate there for the character, and his broken heart at what he had to do, and the anger and the disappointment and all of that. And then he has to look away while Anakin is burning there, but there was nothing else he could do, and off he goes. And at that point, probably throughout to the end of the movie, he probably believes Anakin is dead. But later he would realize, whoops, no, not so fast. And so it sets it up fine for, well, we'll jump 20 years ahead for A New Hope, and Luke Skywalker's story begins. So that wraps it up fairly well. There are still problems with the continuity and things I already said. Like I said, Qui-Gon Jinn doesn't really fit. Not at least not as Obi-Wan's mentor. Like I said, he should have been like a colleague or something like that. And they throw in a line about he said, "Oh, I thought because Obi-Wan was telling Luke that I thought I could teach Anakin the way Yoda had taught me." Well, he didn't. Your main teacher was Qui-Gon. You know, Yoda was he was one of those professors at the school that you knew occasionally might have had a class here and there. But your main teacher was Qui-Gon Jinn. But it says, oh, Yoda says, I have some training for you. And that he, I guess, over the vastness of space, through a Jedi mind connection or mind mills, he's going to teach him how to speak to the dead. And that Qui-Gon had figured out how to become a Force ghost. And so that suggests that on Tatooine, Obi-Wan communed with Qui-Gon from time to time. So that's the training. Well, that doesn't wrap it up. That doesn't explain, because he doesn't teach Anakin anything about that, so it doesn't quite work. So it's just too bad. The other thing is, well, you kind of wonder what would happen, and I wondered if at the time when Phantom Menace came out, I wondered, well, when they get to the babies and stuff, is she gonna have the babies sooner than rather than at the end? But it's at the end, and did she stay with Leia longer than she did with Luke? Because the Return of the Jedi reveals that Leia had brief memories of Padme. They just said the mother; they hadn't named her yet, but it's just, well, Leia was just more in tune with the Force or something as an infant. I don't know. I mean, it that doesn't work. So yeah, it's too bad about that. But I don't know. It's just like, did you forget your own movies? So it doesn't really resolve any of that. And finally, the droids, C-3PO gets his mind wiped. But not R2-D2. That I don't understand. Because then R2-D2 the whole time he's like, yeah, I know who these people are, and he's like, Obi-Wan, don't you remember me? No, I don't. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? It's a problem, but just for some reason, just didn't do it that way. I don't know. So anyway, Revenge of the Sith, despite having the advantage of it's finally showing you Darth Vader and him becoming Darth Vader, which is what everyone was waiting for, but also, in a lot of ways, it was the best of the three. And even Hayden Christensen's his dialogue, they're trying to change it more into the more mature-sounding choice of vocabulary that Darth Vader would use. It's just, our fate will be the same as his, and stuff like that. What competition? Just leave Obi-Wan. Who cares? Stuff like that. And so there's an attempt there, and all that is all well and good. The cheesy dialogue, of course, is throughout Star Wars, and I think that plays into the idea that it's supposed to be this Saturday movie matinee serial. And so there you go. Revenge of the Sith, obviously calling back to the original title of Return of the Jedi, which was Revenge of the Jedi, but then George said, wait a minute, that's too aggressive for Jedi, but not for the Sith. Yeah, it's right up their alley. So there you go. Palpatine is now in power. He's the Emperor, and oh no, that's terrible. So now, since Lucasfilm is owned by a mouse, we have another chapter to get to besides chapter 4. So next will be A Man Called Solo. How will that turn out? There's so many things of what might have been, and that's certainly true of the prequels, but all in all, it does age well, and obviously it ages well in a sense. It ages well when the initial was disappointment at the different flaws that I talked about, but there's aspects of, even in Phantom Menace, there's aspects here that's enjoyable for a Star Wars fan. But it was a disappointment. Now, it ages well today because, well, now we have a sequel trilogy. Oh my God! So if the prequel trilogy had any kind of dunce awards or whatever, you're losing those. No, because the prequel trilogy is leaps and bounds far superior to anything we've seen with the sequel trilogy, and it's a shame. It really is. But there you go. So Revenge of the Sith, and we'll carry on with more Star Wars on our journey to Rise of Skywalker. I just saw the special from D23, so yeah, as I'm taping this, so yeah. They found Darth Maul's double lightsaber. Will it even be in the movie? Probably not. Yeah. All right, enough of that. This went too long. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below that has plenty of goodies for you.